Oh, hello again. Have you heard of Gothic architecture? No, it's not buildings for people who like black and bats. It's the architectural design used during the late medieval period and was used to innovate the heightening and lightening of structures. Now remember that the medieval period in Europe was very religious, so the buildings from this period were usually churches and cathedrals. The characteristics for these eras of architecture are crooked tracery, rose windows, towers, ornate facades, and of course the three main characteristics are pointed arches, ribbed vaults, and flying buttresses. Let's focus on these. First off is the pointed arch, a staple of Gothic architecture, although it didn't start in medieval Europe. It actually originated in the Middle East and West Asia, and was also used in Islamic architecture. It was a well, obviously an arch, with two curving sides that meet at a relatively sharp angle at the top. Its purpose was to distribute the ceiling's weight outwards to make builders rely on fewer supports, like columns or walls. The point at the top places stress on the tip to make it taller than the curved arch, and allow more interior space, and less stress on the walls. Next is ribbed vaulting, which looks like this. It's an architectural feature for covering a wide space, such as a church nave, composed of a framework of crossed or diagonal arch ribs. They were used in Roman, Byzantine, Romanesque and Islamic architecture. They were used to give building flexibility in the roof and wall engineering. They were more efficient than the barrel vault, as they are lighter, more flexible, and easier and cheaper to build. Lastly is a flying buttress, which is a specific form of buttress composed of an arch that extends from the upper portion of the wall to appear a great mass. They were used to support other structures like large walls or buildings, such as churches. They have been used to make buildings more tall and elaborate. Now next I will talk about two notable architects from this era. Incredibly summarized, because I can't tell their life story, so we go. This is Suger. He was a French abbot, statesman, and historian, credited as being one of the earliest patrons of Gothic architecture. He was also an active advisor to King Louis VII. Suger supervised the rebuilding of the Abbey Church of St. Denis, where it is believed that he inspired many of the architectural innovations employed in the project. They included the painted porch, stained glass, and flying buttress. Next there is Peter Parler, who was a German Bohemian architect and sculptor from the Parler family of master builders. This is important because Peter and his father inspired a parlor style that included complicated vaults with hanging bosses and ribs rising free through space. A bit similar to Suger, he was called by King Charles IV of Bohemia to continue building the Cathedral Church of St. Vitus. His style would influence subsequent architecture, and I shall talk about two of the most famous pieces of work from this era. Here we have the Saint Chapelle, a royal chapel within the medieval Palais de l'Ossat. It was the residence of the kings of France until the 14th century. The upper chapel has examples of Gothic architecture like vaulted ceilings and stained glass windows, and is where the king and his friends and family would hang out. While the lower chapel is dedicated to the Virgin Mary and is full of ribbed vaults. The chapel is also renowned for its magnificent glass windows that are 600 sqft in area and have vibrant colors. And here is the Notre Dame de Paris, a cathedral church in a French city with an unknown name. It is arguably one of the most famous Gothic cathedrals of the Middle Ages, known for its size, antiquity, and architectural interest. As you can see, the building has examples of Gothic characteristics like towers, flying buttresses, and pointed arches to make it taller. Unfortunately, due to a fire in 2019 destroying parts of it, the cathedral is currently being rebuilt, although it has been the first time it's gone through major renovations, so one can only hope for the better. Okay, here we are at the end. Hope you learned a bit about Gothic architecture, and now I'm going to leave. GHDHDHFH.